All right, so let's take a let's look at an example here. So I've created a scene here in Unity with this big rock here, which I'm using sort of as a focal point. So imagine for some reason, I don't know, pick any reason. This is an important part of this particular scene. So I want to create kind of a viewpoint that sort of views it and kind of use the environment to sort of make it pop, make it sort of an understandable focal point here. And obviously right here, this is kind of this is in sort of very similar sense to kind of the square that I showed you with just kind of a single object at its center. It's obviously a very balanced sort of composition. It's got a very strong focal point because it has only one item that actually stands out. But it's a very, very boring scene, as you can see. So not a lot going on here. But let's start to bring some other elements into here. And I'm just going to sit and play here. So I'm speeding up here. This is about 3 times speed. And this just kind of shows how I often kind of work, where I'm just kind of improvising. It's almost kind of like, you know, I don't know, like Bob Ross painting a scene, and just kind of seeing how it feels, iterating. Level design is a very, very iterative process. You kind of try things out and then see how they play. So here I've created these 2 strong sort of guiding line elements here on the sides to sort of point to my focal point. And now I'm raising my focal point up on this sort of dais, I'm not sure how you say that word, but to sort of increase its sense of importance. And now I'm putting some mountains behind it to help it sort of contrast. So it was kind of a light color and the background is kind of light color. So I'm creating these rocks in the background, and they're creating some even more sort of guiding lines to sort of point your eye in the direction of it, but not too much. So, you know, there's a balance here. You don't want to overdo it. When you create a composition that is too obvious, it's kind of like that rock in the center of the field where it feels like you're doing all the work for the viewer, and it's not really that visually engaging. Here, I mean, it's very obvious that I'm creating this as sort of a focal point, but I am kind of letting the player sort of figure that out on their own, or at least that's the goal here. So let's see, creating some sort of organization to this space here. So I've got sort of these stair-stepped hills on the left here that are sort of defining the left side of the visual field, and then I've got this sloping ground over here, which is the right side of the visual field. So very much feels like there's a sort of structure here. Okay. All right, now what's next? Okay, so bringing some organic elements in here to contrast with the sort of rock elements, and I'm using these sort of to create sort of a framing sense around this this view. It's creating some extra detail right around the rock that helps to clue the player in that this is an important sort of object, and sort of it's creating some contrast around the edges of it and making it sort of pop out a little bit more. Let's see if we can use some bushes around. That doesn't really look right. Got a couple of other rocks here that I guess they are sort of standing out as sort of mini points of interest. So, but I'm trying to keep this sort of balance here. You see I've got these 3 rocks here, and they're sort of kind of each offset from the center. And yeah, there we go. Just so I can see the scene back there, try to lower some of these extra shapes here. Let's see. So we'll just hide that extra rock. We don't really need it. Trying to create some extra framing here. Now it feels like things are a little bit empty out here in the foreground area. Well, that's a little bit too much. Now it feels like it's blocking things. You know, if there's, maybe we shouldn't have grass just right around the focal point, sort of some grass over here, some detail over here, create some balance here. The thing is that like I never start a scene like this with a perfect idea in my head of how it's going to go down, because that's just not the way it works. You sort of you might have the start of a plan, but then just as you go, things change. Things don't work out like you planned, and that's okay. In a lot of ways, this is sort of this is expression, this artistic expression here. I'm much like painting with shapes here to try to create the kind of scene that I'm headed for, and I'm discovering this as I go, which is actually, I mean, it's a really exciting process here. Let's see, I think we're just about done. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. So the next thing I'd like to talk about with art composition is the idea of organization.